Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance, everybody. So I was going to use my nice camera because I plugged it in and I thought it would charge overnight. And lo and behold, when I opened the freaking camera, the battery symbol shows it's dead. So I charged that freaking camera all night, but it didn't actually charge. So now I have to use my iPhone, which I got for free, okay, to do this book review. So welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. Today, we're going to do a book review of this cute little book that I just read in about 30 minutes of skimming called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by this handsome fella, Robert Kiyosaki. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If I didn't, call a lawyer. So this guy, he's pretty famous. Old Robert here. He's a very rich man. And he made his fortune investing in real estate and small cap stocks, which are tiny stocks that have the potential to grow massively over time. That is how this man made his fortune. And in this book, he tells you how to fix your mindset with genius revelations of how to become wealthy. And here's all he does. He tells the story of two dads. He has his actual father, who worked for the government. He's a big government employee who loved the security of a government job, which I also do as well. His dad worked for the government. His dad was a socialist, a stinky socialist. He hated the rich. He liked high taxes. That's what he loved. He was a very well-educated man, but he didn't make a lot of money, and he always struggled with money his entire life. I wonder why. His other father, who's actually his friend's father, was a huge businessman who never struggled with money, who was a capitalist, who hated taxes. And this man was super freaking rich. Well, Robert would listen to both of these dads that he had, and one father would say, "Oh, socialism is so good. You just have to pay tons of taxes and you'll get the money back somehow and that'll make you successful. Taxes are good, government's good." The other father was a capitalist and he said, "You can't rely on the government. You can't rely on a job, and you shouldn't rely on a job. You should use your money and your capital to invest and grow and build a fortune and not rely on the government." Two different fathers. Well, that's four. Two different fathers. Which one do you think Mr. Richie Rich listened here? You think Robert will be on the cover of this book if he listened to his poor dad, who had this great government job, but he was freaking broke his whole life? And here's why. There's nothing revelatory or new or exciting about this book. It's actually pretty generic. And yes, I think it does teach good things, but I don't 100% agree with how he invests. But the main thing with this book is that he rightly states that poor people and middle class people, both mentally and monetarily, they spend a lot of their money on things that he calls liabilities, which are things that take money out of your pocket. Rich people, instead of spending all their money on liabilities, they buy assets, which are things that put money in your pocket. Now, I'm an accountant, and I know an asset and a liability are not really what he's talking about. He is not talking about an asset and a liability in an accounting sense. He's talking an asset as a thing that puts money in your pocket and a liability that takes something out of your pocket. And think about it. What does the average, boring, I'm not going to say loser, but just, average Joe Schmo American, what does he buy? Well, he goes to college, maybe he gets a good degree. Maybe he gets a degree in BS. So then he's got a student loan. What is that doing? He's paying a payment every month, taking money out of his pocket. Then, once he graduates college, he's like, "I need to impress the girls. And it's not my personality and charisma and looks that'll help me get the girls. I need to buy a new sports car. Even if I'm a little dweeb, the girls will like me with the sports car." So he goes and he buys a sports car. Does that sports car put money in his pocket? Does it make him rich? Is it an asset? No. The money leaves. Every month he's making a car payment and the value of that car goes down. That is a liability from a Kiyosaki standpoint, and I agree with that. Then he's like, "Oh my God, I'm going to have 2 kids with this woman that I married. I need a 6-bedroom house because I'm important. I have a great job as a auditor or an accountant or whatever." So he goes and he buys this expensive freaking house. Is that house putting money in his pocket? Is it an asset? No, it's not. Houses are terrible investments. Every month he pays a mortgage payment on his big mansion with too many rooms. Interest, maintenance, property taxes, that's all money going out. That's a liability. That is average Joe Schmo. Well, whatever. Every time he gets a pay raise, instead of investing and buying assets, he buys more liabilities. And that keeps him poor his entire freaking life. Or her life too, okay? We're equal on this channel. Now you compare that to a heroic investor, a genius investor like me, or anybody that prefers to buy assets or liabilities. What is an asset? Well, it's something that puts money in your pocket. For example, if you buy a real estate or rental property and you rent it out, that puts money in your pocket. When you live in your own home, money is going out because you're paying all those bills. But when you own a rental property, you have money coming in, and any money that goes out, you can actually write off as a tax deduction against the money coming in. So all the money you're spending on bills for that rental property is actually tax-free or pre-tax money that you're spending on those bills. That rental property is paying you money in. So the house you live in is a liability. A rental property that pays you is an asset. What is another asset? What do I talk about on this channel all the time? Stocks. When you buy a stock, you own part of a company. That company makes money, and you are entitled to that money. You earn that money because you are part of that company. That company is also tax efficient because any of its expenses are written off, are deducted from its income before they are taxed. Another asset, a bond. Not great returns, but it's an asset. There's all sorts of things that you can invest in, but it's very simple. If something is taking money out of your pocket, you want to get rid of it or reduce it as low as you possibly can. Number one, avoid student loans. Common sense. Number two, don't get a big fancy car. It's a liability. It'll suck your wealth away. Number three, get a house that you need. People may make fun of you because it's a small house. I live in a small house, for example. But guess what? I'm going to be rich, boy. I'm going to be very rich. And I'm never going to have to worry about money again. You know why? Because I don't worry about, oh my God, who has the biggest house? Oh my God, my house is so big. My house is bigger than yours. You don't want to be that person. Society will push you, and your stupid neighbor, your loser neighbor opinions are going to push you to buy liabilities. In America, you are successful when you buy liabilities. But Mr. Robert here rightly points out that the true wealthy buy assets. So stop spending your money on BS that will cost you money in the future. Buy stocks. I know it's freaking hard. You click some buttons and you buy stocks, all right? If you don't have money to buy stocks, well then cut your freaking expenses. I know you can, okay? If you have a car payment or a student loan, get rid of it as fast as you can. Don't go into more student loan debt once it's paid off. Don't buy a new freaking car. Don't max out your credit cards. Save your money, and whatever money you have to invest, use that money to buy assets. And over time, those assets will build, and they have tax advantages, and you'll get wealthy. That's all this book says. There's nothing really special about this book. Somebody recommended I read this, but I kind of knew this is what would happen. So if you want to have like a basic education of what an asset or a liability is from a finance standpoint, not from an accounting standpoint, you can read this book. This guy, he's all about real estate, and he makes money on small cap stocks, which is fine, whatever, but highly risky, and he doesn't really, I don't think he's an index investor, which is not something I agree with, and I'm not a real estate investor. But if you're just starting on your financial journey and you have no idea what an asset or a liability is, read this book. If you have more than a basic understanding of personal finance and how to grow your wealth, you don't need this book. You can probably graduate to more detailed and explanatory subjects or books, okay? That's my review for Mr. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Not bad, but I didn't really learn anything from it, all right? Well, that concludes my video. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and you guys have a wonderful day.